Hello! So I wasn't planning on doing a stream tonight, but I've just decided to do one because when I finished work today I had a bit more energy than I was expecting. So I'm assuming I'm going to probably stream for at least an hour. I've got the new webcam I think all set up properly, so you'll need to let me know at your end, but I'm assuming this video is actually outputting at 1080p 60, which is 1080p 60 FPS now, which is obviously what I want, because that means, yeah, cheers, because I've not got any more lighting on. I've just got the light on in the corner and the ceiling light on, but the brightness and colours seem to look quite good on my screen. And again, it's 1080p and it's got the autofocus. So for example, if I held my watch up to the camera, it should actually focus on it. Just give it a moment. Yep, there we go. And then if I put that down, it should focus on my face again. Yeah, excellent. So the autofocus actually works pretty well on this. Yeah, good, excellent. Well, that's what I wanted, because as said, 1080p 60 FPS is much better than my old webcam, which I think was 720 30 FPS, and because this, you know, has a better sensor in terms of picking up the room light, so, you know, it works better in lower light conditions, the colours look more natural and everything, you know, and I've got a lot more options. I can play about with this one. Mr. Cheeky Breaky, I've probably got around 100 gas masks now, if you ignore duplicates, 80 to 90 I'd say. Now, I've apparently got yellow live stream health at the moment, which is viewers may be experiencing minor issues, but it doesn't tell me why. I don't know if that's like because the bitrate is slightly different than what YouTube likes, but I don't know if there's much I can do about that. Let me know if it's alright at your end, because obviously it doesn't tell me why it's gone yellow on the YouTube thing, it just tells me it's gone yellow, which is really helpful. Right, good, hopefully it's just YouTube being silly, but obviously it's using more bandwidth because I'm doing 1080p 60 FPS, not 720 30, but overall this webcam does look a lot nicer. You know, I'm glad I invested in it. As I said, 60 quid is quite a lot to spend on a webcam, but as I'm doing quite a few live streams a week now, it seems worthwhile, because I'm quite enjoying doing these. Right, cool, so yeah, obviously I had work today. Now, good news, I may have some of the custom merch on the Teespring as soon as tonight, potentially, because Bart's going to try and see if he can get me at least one drawing done for tonight. If not, I should have one at some point during the next week. But from then on, you know, we should start regularly having custom pictures drawn for the Teespring thing, just because tonight's the night he has to actually finish his big commission he's been doing for the last couple of months, and once that's done, you know, he can get on with the stuff he wants to do. Actually, with this webcam, out of interest, does it turn side to side or not? Not really. I was just kind of interested with this webcam if it had a kind of... It has a much better mount on this webcam though, I will say that. Right, let me just go back into OBS and I'll get the Enfield back in frame. Alright, there we go. Yeah, that'll do. Yeah, the mount is much better on this webcam. This webcam lets you mount it either on a camera tripod, like the one I normally use for videos, or it's got a screen mount, like my old one had, but this one has a much, you know, firmer, bigger, chunkier mount, so it doesn't slip around as much. You know, the webcam stays where you point it rather than having a bit of vibration. It'll, yeah, well, the good thing of the merch, it should be now on every video as far as I can tell. Below the video, it should have the merch shelf. Because Teespring's all integrated with YouTube. But as I said, so when I start putting new designs on there, you should just see whenever you're watching my videos that they're turning up. You don't have to go to Teespring to see them. As I've already said, I have no interest in the new Metro game. My favourite horror movie is an Italian movie called Della Morte della More, also known as Cemetery Man in English, but it's sort of like a very dark comedy zombie film. I don't know, because I've never bought off a Teespring before. Yeah, I got my mum a card and I bought her a present. She had a present before Mother's Day just because there was something she wanted and it was easier for me to get her her earlier. And because I was working for a lot of today, you know, I wouldn't have seen her. Yeah, thank you, Mike. Like the stream, everybody. eBay is the best place to buy gas mask. I think, though, the gas mask they gave out in that Metro Collector's Edition was actually a Finnish M71, I get the weird impression. Let me Google it and see if there's any good pictures of it. It's called Artyom Edition or something, isn't it? Because the game's out now, I'm assuming there's actually pictures of the actual set. Yep. As far as I can tell, looking at some of the pictures, the Artyom edition looks like it's got a Finnish M71 gas mask in it, rather than actually a Russian mask for some reason. It's only people I trust that I've known for a while, so Weapon Collector I've chatted with for years on YouTube, and Richard I bought stuff from and he sent it to my house, so I trust him, and Peach is a moderator on Mike's streams and everything, so I trust him because Mike trusts him. But I don't need any more moderators because having 3 mods plus myself is easily enough. Well, the Russian army didn't use the GP5 filter. The GP5 was a civil defense filter. But they still use some of the old stock, but that's mostly for training. As far as I'm aware, for military actual service and like use, they have brand new ABEX style filters. They're still in GOST, obviously, but as far as I'm aware, the actual, like, for training, yeah, they still use some of the old Soviet stock, but, you know, not for actual serious use. No, I've not been to Ukraine, sadly. I wanted to go to Ukraine a few years ago, and then all the, you know, like, violence in Ukraine happened, and it made it quite hard to book holidays there and that. So, I know you could go again easily now, because I wanted to do the Chernobyl tour, but obviously it was just bad timing. And at the moment, as I've said before, I'm saving up to buy a new PC, because in July sort of time, the AMD new CPUs are meant to be coming out. So I'm hoping, you know, I'm just sort of saying this year I don't want to go on holiday, because I'm just going to put my money aside and actually buy thing. And last year as well, I bought the new car. You know, so really I can't justify, although I could afford to go on holiday, I can't really justify spending the money on it, to be honest. There's too many physical things I need for like YouTube or, you know, actually daily living. The rarest and most expensive gas mask would be the US Mickey Mouse mask. Yeah, I've been to Scotland. There's videos on this channel of me in Scotland. No, Russia uses 40mm GOST, not 40mm NATO. Oh, the crossbow that's there, this one, that one, I've done a video on it. It's like a wall hanger kind of decorative one. You can shoot it, but it doesn't shoot very well. What it is a, I got it from the night shop. I think it's an Italian-made one. I've modified it. I modified it because it had a weird sight thing on it I didn't like. But basically, you can shoot it, but it's very low velocity. You know, you can pull it back with like 1 finger or 2 fingers, the thing. But it's got a functioning mechanism on it and everything. No, I haven't seen those sort of channels. Dr. Terminator Show. Yeah, lead protects from gamma radiation. I'm not like a physicist, so I can't explain all that to you, but as far as I'm aware, gamma rays and X-rays are blocked by lead, which is why you have like lead screens in hospitals where there are X-ray machines and things like that. Well, at the moment I drive a Dacia Sandero and I really like that. It had its service done on Friday and it passed the service with flying colours, so it's being cheap to run at the moment. You know, it's good on fuel economy and everything, so I'm very happy with it. No, the GP5 itself is not still in production. There's SHM or SHM style masks that are still in production, but not the original GP5. Yeah, paper stops alpha particles, which is why you can have a paper particulate filter. The current Russian army gas mask, I imagine, is the PMK3, but I know they also have the disposable one that's filled with charcoal. Alright, thanks mate. Yeah, the webcam, I think it looks good. I think it's worth investing in. I said it was 60 quid's quite a lot to spend on the webcam, but as I'm doing streams quite a lot. yeah, I think it's worth it. But yeah, it's much better than the old one in terms of the lighting looks a lot better and everything else, because obviously the sensor picks up a lot more light. And because it's in 1080p and 60 FPS, I don't know if YouTube will actually share my streams a bit more often. It might do. If you want to buy a Ushanka, get one. No, they do not have tracking chips in them. What a load of bollocks. You know, installing a GPS into a gas mask is like one of the most pointless things. I don't know what you mean by a strobe filter. It depends how long your stocks of food and everything last. If you haven't seen it, watch a film called Freds. It will give you a very brutal, realistic, look at nuclear war. No, the background, the room I'm in is just my bedroom. It's just I store a lot of the stuff in my bedroom, obviously, because this is my own room, whereas if it's in other rooms of the house, it's not really my own room. But gas masks and everything are just stored wherever I've got space from. Yeah, I don't think my Sony camera would be very good though as a webcam, so yeah, I think it's easier just to have this Logitech one as the webcam, and then just use my Sony camcorder for my regular videos. Because the issue with my Sony camcorder as well it's been pretty good recently, but I've had a lot of times where it keeps playing up, and then, it sorts itself out again for a while, and it starts playing up, and I keep meaning to buy a new camera. And I did buy one replacement camera, and then I've used it for a couple of videos, but the light sensor in it wasn't as good. So again, if I'm going to buy a proper camcorder, I'm going to have to, spend quite a lot to get something that's equivalent or better than my Sony one. So while the Sony one keeps trudging along, it's 1080p, 60 FPS, I don't really need to replace it. Well, the TF one is more modern, and you can put NATO filters on it without modifying the mask in any way, but the GP5 I'd say actually has a better build quality. In terms of the rubber feels better on the GP5, the valves are definitely made better, they move and they don't gunge up as much. Well, the GP7 is the civilian version, so I think the PMK3 is still in production, because the GP7 is like the civilian PMK. But I don't think the regular conventional GP7 is still in production, no. Check the description, Elijah, because a lot of the stuff's said in there. What got me into it, I just find military history quite interesting and a lot of stuff like that. Can't really give you an exact reason. I've done videos before talking a bit more about what got me into stuff, but there's not a definitive answer. Let me look up that one. The Sony one I use for all my videos is this one. Sony Handycam. What's the actual... HDR CX240 is the name of the actual camcorder. And see, this webcam can actually focus on stuff like that. Isn't that amazing? My old one couldn't. This webcam, in terms of being an actual webcam, is absolutely fine. Not webcam, sorry. Camcorder. The issue with it is that, there you go, just so you can see that it works. The issue with this camcorder is that, basically, it doesn't use a proper SD card. It uses like a micro SD or Sony's own brand one. I wish they just to put a normal SD card in it, and the contacts aren't very good in there with the SD card. So what happens a lot of the time, micro SD, is that the card can come loose while you're filming, and it can ruin the files. And then you have to keep reseating the card and everything like that. But for a while, recently, it's been pretty good. But when I upgrade, I've heard Canon camcorders are pretty good, so I might look into getting a Canon one. Most durable gas mask ever made? I really don't know. Well, airsoft BBs don't travel really fast enough to even break your skin, so pretty much any cap would protect you from airsoft BBs. Now, I haven't seen any of your new videos yet, Slingshot Warrior. I'll check those out at some point. If you've been posting comments saying check them out, though, I think YouTube automatically marks those as spam. Yeah, because I'm going to delete your comment, Dr. Terminator, sure. Just because if you followed a lot of stuff that's happened in the news at the moment, there's been a lot of backlash about related memes and stuff to some of that stuff. So despite the fact that all of those have nothing in relation to what happened on the news, that doesn't mean YouTube and a lot of other places haven't gone full censorship over certain things. So I've just deleted any videos that I think may have, you know what I mean. I'm sure you know what I'm getting at. But I'd rather play it safe than sorry with YouTube, you know. If I've got a video that I think might get the wrong kind of interest, I just generally delete it. As I've already said, it's some sort of ABEC GOST filter. Article 13's passed, but nothing's come of it yet. I really don't know what the logistics are of, you know, enforcing all the Article 13 stuff. Like I said, I really don't know. So, because I know it's like to do with copyright enforcement, and I know the EU likes to push a lot of dodgy stuff with a lot of their things. Yeah, no, that's alright, Mike. I don't need to delete your comment, but yeah, it's that sort of thing, isn't it? If something's been in the news and the media's having a bread and circuses over it, sometimes it's a bit safer just to delete videos that, you know, may attract the wrong sort of interest. Because I don't mind losing some views, especially from videos that weren't all that popular to begin with. You know, I'd rather, you know, just lose some views on the video than risk my entire channel or something over something really stupid and pointless. I like very dark comedy or black comedy, you know, the kind of comedy which is very, very morbid. It's just a Cadbury, I think it's from an Easter egg, like years ago. I know we're getting close to Easter again at the moment, but I think it's just one. But I like this one because it's a higher capacity mug than a lot of my mugs. Sounds tactical, doesn't it? Higher capacity mug. But what I mean is, most mugs, like coffee mugs, hold about 300 millilitres of liquid, roughly. This one's closer to 400 millilitres, so it means you can just have a bigger cup of coffee or tea in it, without going on to my like massive HP mug. No, because they've cut these cups down. Most of the modern Cadbury's Easter eggs I've seen either don't have the cups in anymore, or they're much, much smaller, because, you know, they need to fleece you for as much money as possible. You actually don't get as good mugs as that anymore. Yeah, I tried putting a softbox lighting in my stream, but the new webcams I don't need to. With the old webcam it made it look a bit better, but with the new webcam I really don't need to. I prefer dogs, but I like both dogs and cats. I like most animals, because like I said, I volunteer at the Blue Cross on Thursdays, which is an animal charity. So I work with dogs, cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, rats, mice, chinchillas, dagoos, you know, everything. We even have horses at the centre, but I don't do anything with the horses. Well, a lot of people know where I live, but I'm getting quite cautious about not telling people too many details about where I am, because I get some very odd questions from some people regarding where I live. Like, what's your nearest town, what's your nearest, like, council kind of thing. But there aren't any good gun ranges near me to answer the question, because I've looked into it before. There used to be a very good historical gun shooting one, sadly that's not there anymore. And because I'm not very interested in sort of doing 10 or 20 yard, 22 long rifle shooting at paper targets, there's not much. Most of them are like university based clubs, so there's not much that interests me. All that is it's a crossbow stringing aid. I think it's from... might have been one of the redbacks. I don't really know why I hung it there. I think it's just because I had it and I didn't want to put it in a drawer. I'll take it down actually because it has no reason being it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the stringing aid from a redback. Mike will tell you. If you're watching, Mike, is this a redback stringing aid? Because I think that's what it's from. I think it's because when I was throwing away a lot of the packaging, I hung that up. Yep, that's what it is. Right, cool. What I'm just going to do is chuck it in a drawer. There we go. Because what I'm going to do is when Bart's done one of his really good posters, which is probably not going to be in this week, it's probably going to be in within a couple of weeks' time. I'm going to put the poster up in that gap so it's always in the background and people can see it. So, you know, it makes people a bit more interested in the merch when all the nicer stuff's out. Because I can get a poster that will fit exactly into that rectangle. And we can have like a load of cool, like NATO versus packed gas mask kind of stuff on it. Now, I've got some gas masks on the wall you can't see. Tell you what, actually, because this webcam is better, just give me a moment. What I can do with this webcam, see, is there's my GP4 on the wall next to a crossbow. There's the M1 carbine. There's my English flag. There's a GP5, an M61V3. There's my German GM38 and my Finnish M61V2. The Finnish M61V2 is the first gas mask I ever owned. There's an Elk Ridge machete, and there's a load of arrows. And there is my MM1 with the tank helmet on and everything else, plus some old teddy bears that are shoved up there because there's no other room for them. And my Amiga Man poster. Let's just get the angle back as I had it. But yeah, that's the much better thing about having a good webcam mount compared to the old one, is that you can you know, show stuff with the webcam and I can actually get it back on and stable during the streams. Oh, thank you very much for the Canadian dollar, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm sure it's like a generic one then. But yeah, thank you very much, Liam Outlook Films. I do appreciate that. Obviously anything that gets donated or whatever helps the channel. And as I bought the webcam recently, you know, I can say your money's gone towards the webcam really. So, you know, the streams look better. Well, it depends what kind of apocalypse it is, but because I'm chronically ill, probably not, because as soon as my medication runs out, I'm a bit screwed. Well, what about them, as in buying one to drive? I mean, I've got a car, so I don't really need a motorcycle or a scooter. I mean, they're much cheaper to run than the car, but there's a lot of motorcyclists killed and things on the roads near me because a lot of drivers just don't look where they're going, so, you know, I don't really think I'd have much interest in getting a motorbike, really. Yeah, sadly, we don't have any kind of civil defence thing at all, do we, anymore? I've not got a GM30, I've got a GM38. No, there was I think when I was at secondary school there was a trip to the Somme, but it was one where they were absolutely fleecing people on, you know, how much it charged. Like they were charging you nearly £1,000 to go there for 2 days. It's one of the places I probably go to. I find that sort of stuff pretty interesting. It's just, you know, I never went because when I had the chance it was on a school trip. I've been to a lot of places in Normandy though, because my granddad was in D-Day and everything in World War II, and then, but this is unfortunately when I was quite young, so I can't remember a lot of it, and I didn't really have all the interest back then, but you know, we went back there so he could kind of go back to a lot of the places he'd been in, sort of thing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's where the school was making loads of profit from it, you know, where they were obviously going to book a cheap hotel and everything, and then what they were doing is obviously making as much money as possible. Yeah, because they've done the same thing when they've done other trips, like, they did the same thing, like I've been to Poland, and I went on a trip to Poland that took me to a load of the cities and Auschwitz and everything, and that was like 600, 700 quid. But when the school did like a 2-day trip to Auschwitz, again it was like over £1,000, because again they're trying to make as much money from the kids as possible, and because lots of kids want to go as part of their curriculum, it's a big money maker for the school. Yeah, basically that. You're right. Paying for the teachers, yeah. Now the only thing I have that's remotely Roman, this obviously isn't a proper Roman thing. Let me get this off. Is the Cold Steel Gladius. So it's kind of based on a Roman gladius sword, but it's actually a machete. but it's got that very interesting point. This would be far better as a thrusting sword than a sort of chopping sword. But yeah, probably not great to swing that around like that in here. But yeah, cold steel gladius machete. If you can get these around the £30 to £40 price mark, I'd say they're definitely probably worth that. It's got a very flat kind of thin blade, but obviously it's very efficient at thrusting. My most comfortable gas mask would be my Forshida F2A4. Yeah, I think, let me have a look for you, I think on Southern Swords, where I bought a couple of swords from recently, they do have a reproduction gladius that isn't meant to be too bad, that's not too expensive. Let me have a quick look for you, mate. I'm looking at the ones that are actually kind of, you know, the usable ones, rather than the really cheap sort of wall hanger type ones. Now they have a wooden training gladius. I might buy one of them for sparring at some point. I think it won't be too long till my sparring video goes live either, actually. There's a windlass steelcraft one here, so that'd be pretty good. So let me just link you to this one. This one looks pretty nice. I'd be sort of tempted to get something like this myself. But yeah, this one looks pretty good. I said I've been very happy with my windlass stuff I've bought in the past. You'd have to pay a bit more to have it sharpened, that'd be an extra 30 quid, but so it's 50 centimetre blade, weighs about 3/4 of a kilo. But yeah, Southern Swords is quite good if you want to have a look at sort of a load of stuff, because they have some of the cheap and more high-end stuff on there. I'd rather have a T55 than the sword as well, but sadly it's not that easy to get a T55. I've already answered that this stream, so I'm not going to keep saying why did I get into Militaria. But for gas masks, primarily because they're very cheap compared to a lot of other surplus. I've only got two flags. I've got the English flag there, which I showed earlier on the stream, and I also have a Confederate battle flag, like the Army of Northern Virginia one. And that's fallen off the wall and I've not put it up, and I got a load of people like, oh, you must be a racist Klansman because you've got that flag. I just think it's a cool looking flag and I like the history of the US Civil War. I'd like an old Union style flag as well, like the one with the ring of stars. But I don't know if I've ever seen it, but I haven't really got the wall space for that. The Ferret Scout car was the one that used to flip over and kill everybody inside, wasn't it, in Northern Ireland a lot, because it wasn't very good if you actually used it on the road rather than off-road. One of my friends I did a sparring video with at some point. Let me tell you when that video goes live, actually, for the people who want to watch it. It's pretty boring sparring, it's not some Battle of Nations stuff, but we had good fun doing it, although I generally got a lot more hits in than he did, because he didn't realise that, you know, how important footwork is. April the 5th it goes live, so what's that, Friday next week? Yeah, it goes live Friday next week at 5 PM. So yeah, that's one of us was using the Bokken and the other was using the training spear, and then we swapped around partway through the video. My favourite deactivated gun would be my SLR there, just because I really like the history of the rifle. Oh, thank you very much, Elijah. It's very nice. Getting 2 donations in one stream is very nice. At the moment, it is, because the clocks went forward in the UK today, so at the moment it's 7:30, or 7, I think 7:32, so 19:32, but if you can see the watch there, maybe. That's the time. See, 7:32, 7:33, if it focuses again. Not really. I did, when I set up an Emperor Scorpion enclosure, I did a stuff on that, but I'm not really an animals channel, to be honest. You know, I'm far more interested in like weapons and things like that. I really like animals, but you know, I think some people might worry if you put the two together. But obviously, like I said, I have no intention of harming them at all. So I absolutely hate people that abuse animals. You know, they're like, for me, they're the same as pedos. But you know, scum. But going off on a bit of a tangent now, aren't I? But my point being that I don't really want animals on my channel too much, if that makes sense. Yeah, thanks, yeah, like Mike said, don't forget to like the stream. If you want to dislike the stream, feel free to as well, but I generally prefer a like. But if the trolls want to come on and dislike it, they're still supporting me in a sense. I get all my deactivated guns from D&B Militaria, Callum, or that's where I've got all of mine from in the past. There's also Worldwide Arms Limited in the UK, there's a couple of others. It depends. I think if you're in somewhere like some of the places in China, India, yeah, probably. But in the UK, the pollution's not that bad. Or as in from Black Sails kind of thing, like a pirate flag with Jack Rackham. Do you mean, or am I thinking of something else, Bosley? Oh, like a Jolly Roger kind of flag. Yeah, you said on the thing. I don't know if you heard SRS Power, but we were saying afterwards that, you know, we were saying that we don't particularly like foxes. We were saying on Mike's stream, because I mean there's a lot of media stuff where they were making the you know, scaremongering about foxes, but in general I don't like foxes because, as I said, because I work, you know, like with a lot of animals. Foxes are essentially predators to a lot of things like rabbits and guinea pigs if you don't have a well secured hutch or whatever. Yeah, exactly. If it's taking lambs, it's obviously causing financial loss to a farmer. You see, this is where I disagree with a lot of people I work with when I volunteer, because a lot of people are totally against hunting and everything, but I kind of consider foxes to be a bit of a vermin problem. I've spoken to farmers as well that have said, you know, they've got problems where they can't legally, whatever reason, they have to jump for a load of hoops to be allowed to shoot the foxes because of certain legislation or whatever. But, you know, it causes problems for their cattle and their animals and everything. I've shot coconuts and things before on the channel. There's not much point in me shooting an egg. I will show you how a GP5 is supposed to fit. I won't get an actual GP5 down, but I'll get another Soviet mask of the same design, or a Polish mask. Hang on a sec. I think this one is a Soviet, I think this is a Polish one, but it will serve the point. Okay, so this is a Polish OM14 or OM14. This one is from 1988, just to show you, if the camera focuses on the text. Right, whatever, the text isn't important, but basically this is very similar to a GP5. It's actually technically a copy of the Shum 41, and that's a mask that the GP5 derived from, basically. But how you put it on is you grip it like this with your thumbs in the top of the mask like that. You then put your chin in, you pull it over, then it sits like this on your face. So basically it comes to here on your chin, and the lid goes around your head like that. That way your eyes line up with the eye bits. And your nose fits into the correct bit. You don't pull it further down. If you tried to do this, you'd break the airtight seal. It wouldn't really fit properly. I mean, depending on the size of the mask you've got, you might be able to do that. But in general, you're meant to wear it more on your chin than further down. No, I don't have a buzzsaw back. Well, I think the Oh, you're saying where it is at. I was going to say, if you're asking where the holy hand grenades are, I think in Fallout New Vegas, if you're playing the Wild Wasteland thing on, I'm pretty sure they're in Searchlight, aren't they, or whatever it's called, that irradiated town in like the church basement or something. There's holy hand grenades that do like 999 damage or something in the basement. They're also in Worms Armageddon, aren't they, in some of the other Worms games. Yeah, people keep mentioning that, but I've not actually ever looked into the zombie deer thing. Alright, I'll have a look at that Serious Power if I remember. Yeah, basically, the recommended hair length when you have a GP5 is almost no hair. I mean, they were designed to work for civilians, so obviously they expected people, you know, to have hair that they'd be working with, but the whole point was really that it's meant to just kind of do that around your face. I can't really remember any of the improvised weapons from Dead Rising, I'm afraid. It's been so long since I played the original Dead Rising, and I think I very briefly played Dead Rising 2, and that's the only ones I played, so I can't really tell you any of the improvised weapons. Yeah, if you look on my channel, Yippee, you'll see that there are videos where I've done sword tests on things. I don't stab living things with my swords, but I've done, like, you know, tests to see if I can get through Kevlar and stuff with the swords. I used to play Left 4 Dead, you know, when it came out, but it's quite an old game now, so no. Well, modern Riot gear is just so much better, obviously. If you think about it, like, modern Riot gear is made out of modern materials like polycarbonate, so you've got a see-through plastic which is really strong as compared to metal. And if you've seen, like, some of the videos on my Riot Shield where we've tested that, you'll see, you know, like the crazy stuff of like hitting it with flails and halberds and, you know, swords and everything. A modern Riot Shield can take a lot more punishment than medieval stuff can, and it's lighter and everything. An M17 depends on the model. An M17A2 I think is the easiest to find and cheapest. Then probably the original M17, the M17ABC. And then the M17A1 is probably the rarest. In the UK, it would be £30 to £60 for an M17 if you can find one, at least the A2. In the US, they're probably cheaper. And then, as I said, the other models are probably a lot more. No, I've never been scammed. I've had a few things not turn up, and then I've had to contact eBay and, you know, get my refund sorted out. But I've never been scammed. I use, like, the cheaper version of Sony Vegas. It's called Movie Studio Platinum. Because Sony Vegas is pretty good, but it's very expensive if you want to legally get it. It's normally like over £100. The like other version is like £20 to £30 on Amazon. It's essentially the same thing. I think there are some slight improvements of Vegas, but I can't really tell you what they are off the top of my head. They're the exact same interface and everything like that. You know, I could use one and not tell which one I was using. No idea, Yippee. I'd assume some sort of massive anti-aircraft or anti-tank gun. It depends what sort of gun do you mean? Do you mean pistol, rifle? What? What's being shown in COD Zombies? The M17 or what? Yeah, I paid something like between £40 and £50 for my M17A2 when I got that one. Wow, you know I'm going to be biased because I'm going to say Britain when we made the S10, but that really depends. The Finnish M61's very good. There's a couple of quite good Cold War masks. It depends, you know. Car doors don't stop crossbow bolts though, because there's plenty of videos on YouTube where people shoot through car doors with crossbows. Ah, sad. Sorry to hear about that, Junebug. If you're asking about other accounts and you're blocked, then you're doing a ban evasion. I'm not going to block you again because I have no idea what you're on about, but we've made it pretty clear on here that if you get blocked, you don't come back. I think it would cave in pretty quickly, a car door. Because the thing is, in terms of car doors, like the only bit in a car that like even stops bullets really reliably is the engine block. You know, it's not the actual body of the car doing it, it's the engine block. It's why you're meant to always take cover behind a car engine if there's a shooter. But, you know, there's plenty of things like in police training and that, they say don't take cover behind a car door because somebody can shoot through both the car doors. And yeah, a car door is going to be better against melee weapons than it is against firearms, but I would still think like a warhammer or something like that, or a halberd is going to go through a car door pretty easily. It depends on the draw weight and the bolt tip and everything. I've not shot my riot shield with big crossbow bolts from the full-size crossbows, just because I don't want to actually break it. I want to be able to rely on my riot shield, and I can't really afford an extra one. I mean, if I ended up getting a second riot shield really cheap, then yeah, I'd do tests like crossbow versus riot shield tests and that. I'd think with polycarbonate that the really high draw weight crossbows, especially compound crossbows, if you were shooting like a very good proper hardened steel broadhead, would go through a riot shield, but pistol crossbow bolts certainly won't, and I imagine things like 40 pound, 80 pound recurve crossbows can't shoot through it. If it's an armoured car, then obviously that's completely different because it's armoured, but regular cars aren't armoured. Why are you asking me questions about how expensive guns in the US are? I can't answer that. I'm pretty sure the SAS use M16s and M4s as well as MP5s. I know they don't use the L85 because it was considered not reliable enough for them, but they used to use the SLR when Britain used to use the SLR. It depends in what sort of way you mean, Yippee. In the high end of it, then no, they're certainly not. But in terms of if you compared a 9mm or 45 ACP pistol versus a full-size crossbow, I think the crossbow has more piercing power. There's lots of videos where people demonstrate that bolts can go further through certain materials than handgun rounds can. But no, in general, firearms, because they use like, you know, an actual gunpowder kind of thing. You know, it's a chemical reaction, not a mechanical reaction or a physical reaction. You know, they offer a lot more power because you've got like a little explosion propelling a bullet, not something that's pulled back to then launch something. Yeah. Do you find it very comfortable? I find the Forshida very comfortable. I find Cold War very interesting. I find a lot of medieval period quite interesting. If you mean a particular battle or whatever, I don't really know. It depends again what the thing is. I think most armies would be better if they actually used like squads of men with 5.56 plus a few designated marksmen or machine gunners with 7.62x51 or more powerful rounds. That reason being that most of the, you know, squad or whatever you want to call them can engage in a firefight at the 300 to 600 yard range with the 5.56 rifles, while they have the DMRs and everything else for picking people off. The problem was when the Cold War ended, a lot, or in the, you know, the 80s, a lot of the Western armies decided to go fully to 5.56 rather than actually having kind of mixed fire teams. Now I cannot speak any Ukrainian or Russian. No, I've not been to Chernobyl. I'd like to go, but I haven't been to Chernobyl. Well, some medieval armour certainly could, or at least like the Renaissance stuff, because they used to have like heavy cavalry in some nations with plate armour that was designed to stop musket balls, and in some museums you can actually see the plate armour with the musket ball, like, you know, indents in them. You know, and that's all sorted. You know, like, you know, it did its job. The problem was it was too heavy for general use and too expensive for mass production. Oh, thank you very much. Well, I don't know if your other account was blocked, but as I said, you're posting on this one, so just feel free to keep posting on this one. The problem is as well at the moment is I think YouTube just hides a lot of people's comments if they say certain things, like shadow bans them essentially. Alright, see you Tumbo, hope you make some fun stuff in your shed. Do you mean the thing that the VSS uses 9x39mm? From what I understand, you wouldn't want it as a general purpose rifle, but it's very good for sort of wet work scenarios because of it being subsonic, so it probably hits very hard at close ranges. Assuming that they didn't get some sort of disease and died, and they had enough men with enough ammunition, yes. But it really depends on the scenario, I think. What spike was to stop saber blows? Oh, you're on about the Pickelhaube. Okay, that's interesting, didn't know that. I mean, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? I mean, the thing is with modern, like, 9mm plus P or whatever they call it, or P plus, whatever its name is, the foot-pounds of energy is pretty much the same as 45 ACP, so I don't think there's any real reason to pick 45 over it now, but again, it's personal preference. If you're better at shooting 45 handguns than 9mm, then that's the better gun for you. No, I have no interest in getting a caravan. No, I don't have a Luger. If I owned a Luger, you'd have seen it in a video. Yeah, again, it's sort of bows and guns work on a different system, as said. In terms of the utmost power, firearms are definitely more powerful, but I think, yeah, if you're comparing crossbows or big sort of draw-weight bows to, you know, pistols, then yeah, the crossbow has an advantage, but obviously bear in mind the difference in size between a crossbow and a pistol is pretty extreme. Yeah, I think for some people, because certain questions are in the FAQ, that's why they ask them repeatedly. They're doing it to be irritating, I think. An armoured Land Rover Defender, maybe? You know, just some sort of 4x4 with a little bit of armour on it, I guess. No, I've not got any more deactivated guns since that video, because the UK laws changed on them and a lot of them became very expensive. Now and again, if somebody asks a question that's in the FAQ and I feel like answering it, I will do, but a lot of the time I don't, just because I get sick of answering them over and over and over. Just going back to merch, just to shill my merch a bit. If you've not seen it, I've got a shirt, or it's a sweatshirt with the SHMS on, or the Shums. I've also got a mug with the Shums on. I think that one looks pretty good. I might be tempted to buy that mug at some point to drink out of it for streams, because I think that would look good. So it's got the Shums looking forward on the front, where it says SHMS, and then on the back it has the SHMS looking sideways. Well, not really, because the Soviet Union collapsed. So AKs got sold en masse to pretty much anyone in the great Soviet Union closing down sale. Well, I'm going to do a lot of the meme style ones later on, but to start with we're just going to get, Bart's just going to do some very cool sort of, you know, like high contrast black and white kind of illustrations of like famous respirators. No, I will be. I'm waiting for Bart to get his cooler designs out first. When he's done that, I will order some things so I can wear them as clothes or have the mugs and stuff like that. Well, if I had, you know, no limitation on what I could get, probably a lever action or a pump action shotgun. You know, like something like a Benelli Supernova, like a very high quality 12 bore. But over and under shotguns are nice, especially some of the more detailed ones. You know, some break barrel single barrel shotguns are very, you know, practical if you just wanted, you know, a gun for shooting shot. Really depends what you wanted it for, you know. Is it a military application? Is it a defense application? Is it a hunting application? you could try stuffing paper into it, call me God. I don't know if that would work. You know, stuff it with paper till it's stretched to how you kind of want it shaped to be, and then just leave it like that for ages. The problem is if it's been stored improperly for years, it might already be too far, you know, kind of damaged and bent. Yeah, I've planned on doing some more Cold War videos. I think there's another Cold War related one that's been filmed but isn't live yet. Let me tell you what that one is. Yeah, it's how realistic are the Fallout games, and it's looking at some of the crazy stuff in the Fallout franchise and the actual real-life Cold War events it was based on. That comes out on April the 14th, so about 2 weeks away. So I think a lot of you might like that one, because you might be surprised about some of the stuff that happened in the Cold War. I just had a message, but it wasn't anything important, so I don't need to read it now. Yeah, well, sadly, as a civilian, you couldn't buy a lot of stuff in the, well, at least not legally, you know. It'd be lovely, wouldn't it, if you could have just bought Kalashnikovs and tanks and that. Did you know Pepsi actually technically had one of the biggest navies in the world when the Soviet Union closed down, because Pepsi actually bought loads and loads of the Soviet Navy for logistics, for, like, shipping things. Let me, if I can get a quote up. How Pepsi briefly became the 6th largest military in the world. It's a Business Insider article. Let me see if I can just get to the bit. They needed a Pepsi fleet of subs and boats for a whole lot of soda. The new agreement included 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate and a destroyer. So yeah, Pepsi at one point owned 17 submarines, a cruiser, a frigate and a destroyer. Because, you know, the Soviet closing down sale. Yeah, well, you also have to pay money, don't you, to go and visit Karl Marx's grave. So, you know, there's that. Also, Karl Marx was a NEET who lived off his dad's money for most of his life, and his dad was an industrialist, so there you go. Well, I can certainly imagine an ANCAP kind of thing with Pepsi declaring war on Coke or whatever with muck nukes. Yeah, so are we saying that Pepsi was actually funded by communists? Is it a plot? When you say Fallout, do you mean Fallout as in the games, or Fallout as in Fallout from a nuclear war? In theory, communism's against the use of money, but it's never going to get to that stage, is it? Every single communist regime never got to the stage where it got rid of money. From my understanding, the problem is that Marx basically said at some stage the government will relinquish all power and everybody will be equal, but the government won't relinquish all power. Yeah, thank you, call sign. It's because I'm on a new webcam. I'm currently using a... Oh, also, let me know, but I think the Logi... Oh no, it's still there, isn't it? Let's see if I can get rid of that. Because see that there's where it says Logi in the bottom right, like it's got a watermark on it. I think there's a way I can turn that off. Let me have a look. There should be a way I can turn it off. Oh wait, no, it only films in 1080p at 30 FPS, so next time I do a stream I'll put it down to 30, not 60, because otherwise I'm using more bandwidth and I'm not even going to get any things out of it. No, I can't see a way of turning that Logitech thing off, sadly. It doesn't really matter, it's only a small wall. Oh, is it? There's a stream gone, silly. Hang on. There we go. Am I back? It's because I was playing about with the settings and obviously it overrode something. Yeah, it's a C920 I have. I used to just have the old one I used to have. The old webcam I used to use was this one, this Microsoft one. But the Logitech one is much better because it's got a better base, so unlike this one you can actually get it to pose properly on your monitor, and it's obviously 1080p not 720p. It's got autofocus, so again if I put something up to the camera it should focus on it. See, there we go, that's focused on that. Then if I put that down it will focus back on my face again. Whereas with the Microsoft one it was a set point of focus, so you had to like sit a certain distance away to be in focus and everything else would be slightly out of focus. It was £60 Random Dragon, so 60 GBP. Ah, that's cool. That's in the ideal price, isn't it then? Not price, in ideal place then, that their watermark gets hidden by my subscribe thing. I mean, what I could always do as well, I know it wouldn't work really very well, but I can always cover the Logi thing up with that look. then it wouldn't make a difference anyway. But then the subscribe thing's blocking some of that text. But actually I might just keep it like that. I think that works quite well, because that hides the watermark. I don't know, I don't want to get too much into on this stream, to be honest, debating about are deactivated gun laws sensible or not. I'm probably going to only stay streaming for another 5 to 10 minutes or so. I'm just going to put my chair back a bit. So, yeah. I have no interest in doing AM or ASMR videos even. Yeah, asymmetric warfare is very good for smaller nations to use, because if they can't win conventionally, they basically have to do that. There you go, there's the gas masks, I already had one out. I do gas mask videos all the time. Don't know what you're on about. Okay, so inside the Logi Capture software, click on the camera icon on the vertical bar on the left. Let me have a look. At the top you should see a toggle switch. Oh, Logitech logo, yes, sorry, you are correct. There we go, I've got rid of it now. Thanks, I'll put the disclaimer onto the other side. Yeah, I guess it turns itself on by default, but at least you can turn it off, but yeah. There we go. I mean, it's not a very big watermark, so it doesn't bother me too much, but yeah, it's a bit irritating. I'm not going to get the SMLE down now, but if you want to see it a bit more closely, let me just put that up a bit. With the Logitech thing, does it let me zoom in? Just a second. Because if I can zoom in... I know it's going to cut my face off, but... oh, it doesn't zoom in very much, actually. But yeah, there you go, that zoomed in a bit more on the SMLE. But I want to zoom fully out so my face is as much in frame as possible. Let me just tip this again. There we go, that will do. When you say M61, which mask do you mean? The Nokia M61? That's 60mm NATO. Or do you mean another mask with the designation M61? Vietnam, because in the US Civil War, In the Battle of Gettysburg, more Americans died than the entirety of the Vietnam War put together. So that gives you some idea of the attrition rates of both wars. There are FM12 outserts, yes, but I don't have any. Oh yeah, but if somebody makes loads of stupid comments in a row, I can't really be bothered to put up with it, to be honest. I like a lot of the FN things. A lot of the older... Well, to be honest, say an FN, there's an FN there. But, yeah, modern FNs, if you mean stuff like the 5.7 handgun, the P90, the Scar light and heavy, yeah, I like FN a lot. I think FN makes some very good guns. But, you know, FN was great back in the day as well, because John Moses Browning was the guy who designed a lot of their guns. When you say couple of months, do you mean a couple of minutes? Or do you actually mean a couple of months? Yeah, the 5.7 is an interesting concept, because the idea behind the 5.7 is that... Tell you what, I can make that disclaimer a little bit smaller, actually. Because now I'm in 1080p. If I go full screen, that's still readable. So there we go, the disclaimer's still there. It's going to block list of the screen. What about the M17? Do you mean the M17 ABC, the gas mask? That's a cheek filter mask. I don't know, Weapon Collector's done a few, I think, improvised throwing knives, so maybe watch his videos on it. Right, what I'm just going to see if I can do quickly is I want to see if I can get this to just poke down a bit more. I might make the strap a bit looser on that at some point, but there we go, that's maybe a bit more of the Enfielding frame. What do you mean some old rifles had straight rifle barrels? What do you mean? I don't get what you're asking, because rifling means that the rifle's more accurate because it spins the bullet, which stabilises it in flight. No, is that like a flashlight thing? I've never even heard of that. Well, I've said before in War Thunder I like the I-153, it's a cool biplane, but I don't really know much about them in real life. No, I don't have any German World War II uniforms. I have a German World War II Iron Cross, but I'm not going to show that on the stream because it's got a swastika on it, and YouTube will probably throw a fit if I show that. Just clearing some notifications on my phone in case there was something interesting. And I have no plans on getting any German World War II uniforms or anything like that, because that doesn't really float my boat, to be honest. The MG42 is a very good machine gun. Although the only problem was the fire rate was a bit high. Especially, you know, with Germany having all its logistics problems near the end of the war. But I know that you could put a heavier bolt in it to retard the fire rate a bit, like, you know, between something like 1,200 and 1,500 rounds a minute. But it's a very cool machine gun, don't get me wrong, but you know, like, there's the MG3 today that's still based on the MG42 design and everything, but it just, I don't know if it was that practical a design for Germany in World War II, all their logistics problems. Yeah, but regardless, I don't want to be dressing up as some sort of World War II German soldier. Right, anyway, I've gone for about an hour and 5 minutes, so if anybody's got any closing questions, might as well submit them now. I actually quite like doing the parody videos, you know, like, don't be a hater, bin that respirator. Because those are quite fun to do, something weird and random that aren't, you know. I quite enjoy the streams as well when they go well, but that's not a regular video, is it? But at least with the streams, you know, it's a bit more interactive and entertaining in some degrees. No, I don't have an ice pick. Alright, thank you, Random Dragon. Oh, if a zombie apocalypse happened, I think places like the US would be absolutely fine. No, Mike, that might take a while. So no, I won't do that on this stream. I'll do a stream tomorrow, but it will be either in the morning or the afternoon, because I'm out in the evening. And if it ends up being evening, it'll be like 5 PM UK time, you know, not like this sort of time. The PPS-43 was a much better gun than the Sten. But if I could pick a Sten-style gun, the Sterling, I'd pick over the PPS-43. What answer was that, Biohazard? The zombie thing? Well, I said if it's like a Romero zombie type thing, America would be fine, I reckon, because they just shoot the slowly moving zombies in the head. There's enough guns in America, it wouldn't be a problem. So I think the Swiss and the Americans would do alright in a zombie apocalypse. I don't think we'd do so well in Britain. Right, anyway, thanks for watching. I'll finish the stream now. What I'll do the next time I stream is I'll just stream at 30 FPS, because apparently the camera only streams at 30 FPS looking in the settings for it. So streaming at 60 FPS isn't, you know, going to make a difference. It's just going to maybe make the stream lag for a few more people. That's going to use more bandwidth up at my end. So, although I, you know, have unlimited internet, that's not the point. So yeah. What I'll do is, next time I do a stream, so tomorrow, I'll stream at 1080p 30 FPS. I know how to disable the Logitech logo now. Yeah, and it should be a good stream. So yeah, see ya. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you tomorrow, anybody who's watching. And thank you for donating to all the people who donate. I do appreciate that. Obviously, yeah, it's going towards like things like the webcam. That means, you know, obviously the quality of the streams goes up. So yeah, cheers and see ya.